How's everybody doing? Welcome to the first installment of The Forum with your boy Big L. This channel on YouTube, this platform, is specifically and exclusively Black first. Now, what I mean by that is the topics, the discussions, um, the subject matter, the way we look at particular issues are going to be through the lens of Black first. We're going to cut through the fat and get right to the facts. We're really going to deal with hard-hitting issues and concerns. I felt the need to begin to have these discussions because there's not many people who are having open, honest dialogue about what's taking place with Black folk. We're too busy sugarcoating it and dressing it up and attempting to make people feel comfortable with the nonsense that's taking place, whether it's within, that means from us, or what's being perpetrated upon us. But the question that keeps being asked is, what's wrong with Black people? What's the issue? What's the bottom line? What's the core issue? What's the one thing that is creating all these other little things? Because crime, teenage pregnancy, uh, racism, classism, colorism, sexism, all of the negative things that the prison industrial complex, the school to prison pipeline, all of these things that are taking place with Blacks are not the core issue. They're not. It's not the foundation issue. When we talk about these things, we got to be able to say, okay, what is the problem? In particular with us, when it comes to racism, for instance, Black folks give emotional responses to it. You know, our idea of rebelling or fighting against racism is venting, rallying, and protesting. Now, I'm not against those things, but those things are not attacking the issue. All those things that I labeled or discussed or mentioned just now are branches on a tree that is rooted in one thing. And for many years, we have been taught that racism was the issue. It was the problem. And for a certain extent it is. But now racism is subjective. What's racist to you may not be racist to me, for example. But when we remove the racist label and put the proper label upon it, the right label, call it what it really is, what the foundation of all those problems really are, and I mean just what they really are, uncompromising, and then get everybody to understand, okay, this is the foundation, this is the problem, this here is what is going on. Not the crime and all those other things that I mentioned are symptoms of a bigger problem. They're symptoms of something bigger taking place. And that thing, man, is so pervasive. It touches every institution. Because you know, like I know, family, this country was not built upon allowing Blacks to be on equal footing with the dominant white society. Now, when I say dominant white society, hear me clearly. I'm not saying better. I'm not saying that they're superior. I'm just saying they're in a position of power right now. The reason why blacks are in the current state that they are in right now is because of white supremacy. White supremacy. Now, when I say white supremacy, I'm not talking about the media driven images of what white supremacy is. See, the media and your history books have gotten you to believe that white supremacy is the KKK or skinheads or some other group of outward displayed races. When truthfully, white supremacy is systematic, it's a system. Because of this country being built the way it is, built on the blood, sweat, and tears of blacks who essentially built this country, built it through slavery, Jim Crow, segregation, until where we are now, which many would refer to as Jim Crow 2.0, a newer, improved version of Jim Crow. White supremacy, the system, touches every single institution within this country. Every institution that's in America, and we're just because white supremacy is global, but we're speaking in American context right now, it's touched every single institution in this country. Every last one. All of them. From banking, from religion, from schools to your government. Every last institution was built on white supremacy. When I say that, it was built to keep those who were in power at the time of building this country, to keep them in power. Always. Always. To keep them in power. That's one of the reasons, the main foundational reason that blacks are in the position that they are in now, because of racism, white supremacy. Now I know that's rough, because some of the white folks who may watch this may be thinking that I'm blaming them for all the things that blacks are doing to each other or perpetrating against each other. That I'm looking to blame the white man for everything that is taking place. That can't be further from the truth. I'm an advocate for responsibility amongst blacks for the things that they do. I'm an advocate. I push personal responsibility and accountability. I push that. I strive for that. But in no way, shape, or form can I strive for that without giving us, that's you and me and everybody else who's going to peep this, the information that is needed to begin to fight our way through. Because for one, for years, blacks were taught that slavery, for instance, was based off of skin color. Period. That's it. When the truth of the matter, slavery was an economic system. It would be considered by many a peculiar institution. Slavery. This country was built upon slavery. Slaves built this country. So the moment that slaves were granted their quasi-freedom, because they never were given true freedom, they're quasi-free. The minute that they became that, it would be the exact example that I love. Dr. Claude Anderson, a brilliant brother, the man with the plan, who is just absolutely outstanding. Dr. Claude Anderson. Check his books out, check his YouTube videos out. The brother is on point, okay? He's made it clear that slavery was an economic situation. It was about slaves building this country so the dominant white society can have a strong, successful, continuous economic base. It was a financial situation. The reason why they fought so hard to keep us in slavery, because their money was going to be affected if we were no longer in captivity. So when we were released into quasi-freedom, given our freedom, it would be the equivalent of someone spending 500 plus years in prison, being released into the world, into society, with absolutely nothing, not knowing how the world works, because all they know is the prison system, how the prison worked, when to eat, where to sleep, who was going to provide for them. That's when slaves were given their quasi freedom. They were left out of a real life monopoly game. Think about Monopoly for a minute. When you play Monopoly, you're given a certain amount of money in the beginning of the game. Everybody's given an equal amount. You're given your piece to go around. The dominant white society had all of their money to start the game that blacks helped get them and give them through the work that they did. So whites had their money. They were able to go around the board several doggone times. Each time they were able to go around, they were able to buy property. They were able to build their institutions, come back around past go and get more money. All those times. Then once blacks got a chance, were given their freedom, they were able to hop in a Monopoly game. But the game was already gone. The game was already being played. The dominant white society already had their money. They had already built up their institutions. They had already built up their properties. They had already had everything in place. So blacks had to jump into this game with absolutely nothing. And the most brilliant and beautiful thing about that is the fact that blacks are so incredibly resilient that we have made it to this far with all of those obstacles against us. With the game being set from the beginning against us. From the beginning. You know how hard this country fought against itself in order to keep us in captivity? To keep us. So when they gave us our quasi-freedom, they didn't give it to us with an equal footing that they deserve, that we deserve. We weren't given that. We've been constantly playing this game trying to catch up. So all the while we're playing catch up, we haven't caught up. Haven't caught up. Haven't caught up at all. Neely Fuller Jr. says, if you cannot understand racism, white supremacy, everything else will confuse you. Everything else will confuse you if you cannot understand racism, white supremacy. Everything. So when we as blacks begin to look at our issues and all the problems that are facing us and that we're involved in, all these things, we got to begin to look at it from the foundation of racism, white supremacy. So even when we're combating issues within us, in our own issues that we are perpetuating against ourselves, we have to be looking at them from the foundation of what white supremacy has instilled in us. How we've been conditioned to think and to react in certain ways. Now that doesn't take away our responsibility in that. It just means that we're looking at it the proper way, through the proper context. That's it. How do you defeat racism, white supremacy? That's longer than I have right now to address. But I am going to begin to address that. I'm going to be teaching and talking about that and discussing how you fight racism, white supremacy. What is our responsibility? How do we as blacks build ourselves up? How do we do that? And I'm gonna tell you right now how it's not. It's not exclusively voting. It's not. Let's think about voting for a minute, family. Honestly, we got a black president in office right now in this country. We have more blacks in high-ranking political office than any time ever in the existence of this country. Right now. But peep how much foolishness that we still have going on right now. You got the highest office in the land, the most powerful man in this world, what many would believe would be President Barack Obama. But we got to begin to have this discussion. So this video here, man, was nothing more than an introductory platform to let you guys know the direction that I'm headed in. As we begin to dig deeper and deeper and explore the issues and have honest dialogue about it. And listen, on the forum here, I welcome you to email me, man, to let me know. Send me a message. You can find me on Facebook. You can find me on Twitter. You can find me all those doggone places. And I would love to hear from you. Hit me up with your ideas for future videos. There's no other way for me to say this than to simply say it the way I'm about to say it right now. We as black people are in a very crucial and dark place right now. If we don't get our act together, come together as one, get united, begin to get focused, move forward, practice group economics, support black businesses, build up a economic infrastructure in order for us to be successful, we will be a permanent underclass in this country. Right now, they are killing us. They are abusing us, allowing us to abuse each other without enforcing the laws that they put in place to prevent or to make sure that that is not taking place the way it is. Them turning a blind eye to us doing it to each other. If we don't get it together real soon, family, we're going to be wiped out. We're going to be wiped out, man. Wiped out. It's time to get it together. And I believe we can do it. I believe in you. I believe we can get this thing together, man. I thank you guys for tuning in. I'm looking forward to having more and more discussions with you. Let's begin to make change, brothers and sisters. White folk, I ain't blaming you for what's taking place. I ain't blaming you for where we are. But what I will say is, you are in a position where, because of the color of your skin, you are privileged to enjoy certain benefits based off of the white supremacy system that is in place right now. I encourage you to check it out for yourself, man, to look into it. I thank you guys for tuning in, man. This is your boy Big L. Man, I hope the cigar ain't bother you. I love you. I appreciate you for tuning into this joint. Again, my name is Big L. We're going to be having difficult conversation from a different perspective. We're going to be engaging and chopping some things up, man. I appreciate you wholeheartedly. Yo, you can catch me, matter of fact, you can catch me every Wednesday night at 9 p.m. on cvoiceradio.com, the forum. I have a show where I deal with topics just like this, man. That is cvoiceradio.com, the forum. This is your boy Big L. Till next time, I'm out.